Hey everyone, this is Daniel,
And I'm Jun,
and we are
Korean.
American.
Morning, Daniel.
Morning, June.
I feel like this is going to be a long intro.
Uh,
We have,
or a long outro.
or a long outro. Yeah, as well. I, first of all, I cannot not mention
What?
your glasses.
What classes? I brought a prop today, June.
Yeah. Oh, this is your prop.
This is my prop.
Okay.
Yeah.
You look different.
Different.
Yeah.
More intellectual.
More intellectual, yeah.
Thank you.
I wouldn't say those are like the typical nerdy glasses.
Yeah.
Pretty
This
stylish.
this is very fitting in Korea. This might be the most 명품 thing I own.
Oh, it's a 명품? Did you get it in Korea?
No, in the US.
In the US?
It's kind of I've had these for maybe 5 years, but I only just realized I needed them because I was on a flight back from Europe, which we'll talk about as well. But I was reading the book that one of our listeners had gifted us.
Yeah.
Amazing book, but I realized that I need reading glasses. My eyes were getting strained, they were tired, they're a little blurry and just not easy to read for a long period of time. So I've had these waiting for me. So the first thing I did when I got back was look for these reading glasses, so I now have them. Yeah.
Oh, nice. So are you gonna always have them? No, these are just props, right? You're only gonna wear them when you
I think when I'm gonna expect
read.
to read for an extended period of time. Yeah.
Nice. What kind of 명품 is it?
June, these are Tom Ford reading glasses.
Oh,
So
fancy.
Yeah, the story behind this is so, in the US, basically, once a year there's an open enrollment period and you sign up for your health, dental, and vision plans.
I did not know that.
And so for the vision plans, basically you have to decide how much you expect to spend on each of these things.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I used to have really, really bad eyes. I got PRK surgery, which in Korea I believe is called LASIK. Not LASIK, but LASIK.
It's the one where
There's
you
no flap.
scrape
Yes.
you scrape off the outside of
Yeah,
your
you shave the cornea
retina
directly.
or
Yeah. So you
the
don't
cornea.
open a flap up
Yeah.
and there's no lens insertion or
Yeah.
anything like that. And yeah, it's good because they call it the fighter pilot surgery because there's no pressure concerns. You can apparently be a fighter pilot or astronaut after you get it.
Nice.
And yeah, my eyes were really bad. I think I first started wearing glasses when I was second grade. And just they steadily got worse. And in my 20s, I started to think about, oh, should I get eye surgery? But my eye doctor recommended, oh, like until your vision stabilizes, you shouldn't get it. And then finally, in my I guess late 20s, it started to stabilize. And then actually, just maybe 6 months, 5 months before my wedding, I got PRK surgery. And so yeah, the trade-off with PRK is that the recovery process is very long, about 2 weeks recovery. But after that, you don't need any. It's just like your eyes are back to perfect and even better than perfect. So, yeah. Oh, why am I getting into this? Okay, the sidetrack. But yeah, so there was one year I remember I had already gotten PRK surgery, but I still had some vision plan to use.
Yeah.
And so every year, basically, I just got sunglasses,
Oh.
which you can justify under it's a bit of a loophole.
Yeah.
But you can justify it because, like once you get eye surgery, you need to protect your eyes.
Yeah.
And so you can still use the vision insurance benefits for that. But after a few years of that, I just had so many shades, I didn't know what to do with them. And so it's like, well, what can I use my vision benefits on now?
Yeah.
And so one year I was like, well, I'm just going to get reading glasses, even though I don't need them now.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of money to use up. So I opted for very, very expensive reading glasses. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
These are $500 reading glasses
$500?
that I hadn't even used till now.
How much did the insurance cover?
It's something like they cover $300 and then like 50% off the rest. So these were probably about $100 out of pocket. Of course, you're spending for the insurance premium, but you
Yeah.
can't get away from that anyway. So I had to spend it, and I got these. They also have some sort of coating, I think yellow or blue lens. So if you're staring at a screen for a long
The
time,
blue light thing.
yes,
Yeah, yeah.
it makes it easier on your eyes. So anyway, yeah, this trip made me realize I needed to find these, which I found and am now using when I read, or for fun props to make me look smarter.
I have one thing to say about that. So when we were working together, it wasn't the first time I worked for that company, but
Yeah.
one thing that was very surprising for Korean is, you know how like they kind of brag about how good their
Benefits are.
their perks are. They highlight so much of the vision plan.
Yeah.
And first I didn't know what a vision plan was, right? Because it's not a common thing in Korea.
Yeah.
Because like, you know, getting prescriptions or anything related to your vision
Yeah.
is nothing worth cover like your insurance to cover, I think, because it's like very cheap.
Yeah.
And so that was very interesting because like I was like, how expensive are like glasses or like getting prescriptions in the States, right?
Yeah.
So how expensive are them? Are they?
Yeah, I mean, normally paying for the lens, paying for the frames and everything. I guess if you're getting the best lenses or, you know, reasonable frames, yeah, I'd say like $300 to $400 is pretty reasonable.
Before
And then honestly, I don't even know how much it costs out of pocket if you go get an eye exam without insurance.
wow.
That's the thing in the US, like as far as I am aware, you just can't do anything without insurance or yeah, you have to kind of get insurance first. And so
That's so strikingly different because
Yeah.
in Korea it's basically free, right? You just go into a glasses store
I know.
and they would do
yeah.
it for you.
Yeah, you go to Namdaemun, $50. They do the auto test.
Yeah.
Someone will look at your eye and then they'll make the glasses. 30 minutes later, you have them, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really quite different.
Interesting.
Is dental the same way? Dental benefits in Korea?
Dental is slightly different.
Okay,
It
so in
does
Korea, do you have a
need-
separate dental plan?
Not necessarily. It's all covered under one, like, one insurance, I think.
Which makes sense.
Yeah.
It's all health, right? Anyway, yeah, in the US, these are all, there's your general health, and then there's dental, and then there's vision.
Well, those are the
All separate.
three big.
You have to make different decisions for each of those, and kind of they're all different plans. Yeah.
Interesting. So how was your trip? You want to
Oh.
talk about Europe?
Just briefly, I think we should maybe cover it in a future episode because I
Okay.
know you're going to Europe soon too.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was my first ever time stepping foot on European soil. I was there for 6 days. Again, have to shout out my wife for holding things down at home. And also, without her, I would not have gone in the first place. She really encouraged me to go. And yeah, I'm glad I did. I went to see my, I guess, Pural 친구. Is that right?
Yeah.
My childhood best friend
Testicle
from
friends.
Yeah, my testicle friend from the ages of 10 and 12. And yeah, I was a groomsman. He was one of my best friends growing up. Can't say I never thought he'd get married, but he was definitely the last of my good friends to get married.
Oh,
So-
why'd you think so?
No. He, some people just really enjoy their singlehood, Jun.
Yeah.
I think he just loves his video games. He just loves his freedom. But on the other hand, he's such a nice, caring, fun person. In the sense, it's like, well, there's no way he's not going to eventually get married if he chooses to. So, yeah.
Wow. Well, so where did you go? You didn't share it.
Yeah. So the wedding was a destination wedding in Mallorca, Spain, which is off the coast.
nice.
I think one of the there's 4 islands there, like Ibiza or Ibiza is one of them.
Ah.
Yeah. But anyway, Mallorca is one of those 4.
Is it also a party island?
I don't believe as much.
As
Yeah,
that?
I think it's known. I was talking to a Spanish person I met, and they basically said, "Oh, Mallorca is the really expensive island that you just go to for beaches and just having a wonderful time. Definitely doesn't have the party vibe that like Ibiza has." Yeah, it was amazing, June. Like literally every 10 steps, I had to stop and take a picture, whether it's just some random alleyway. Whether it was, the architecture, which I'm not an architecture guy, as you know, but it's just so strikingly beautiful to me. Apart from the wedding, of course, we had some time both in Mallorca to explore the island as well as Madrid. And I spent 2 days in Madrid with some college friends. And yeah, it really felt like a college Euro trip. Not because any of us are college aged, but it was with college friends and the wedding was no kids. And so it's just like 5 of us, 6 of us, college friends, no kids. It really felt like we were going back in time in a sense.
Did you do anything crazy?
No, we ate at like a nice restaurant, right? But yeah, everything they say is true, or everything you learn about Spanish culture. What is it? Siesta, where they go home and rest or sleep from 3 to 5.
Yeah.
Restaurants literally don't open for dinner until 8. It's not a joke. Like restaurants are not open for dinner until 8 o'clock. dinner starts at 8, ends at like 11, 12. And yeah, I wonder if there's something there because that lifestyle reminded me a lot of my short trip to Saudi Arabia. I think maybe when it's so hot during the day,
Yeah. Makes sense.
yeah, you just have to do things at night when it's not so hot.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could share a lot more. I have a bunch of notes and reflections I made,
Do
but
they wake up later too?
I believe so.
Oh.
I don't know because I think our schedule was more touristy. We wanted to make the most of our time. But that's true. Yeah, I think a lot of things didn't open until 10. So I expect 10 is kind of the typical morning time for things to get started.
Were you able to communicate in Spanish?
No, but surprisingly, yeah, this is one of my reflections. I don't want to get too deep into it. But yeah, I think because we were in more touristy areas, but in general, everyone was generally okay with English. We got by. Yeah. And then, you pick up very simple Spanish words as you go. Yeah. I don't want to share too much. I want to save it for a future episode.
Cool.
But yeah, Europe was just so beautiful. And I guess the part I did want to share because it's not about Europe per se, but yeah, I think what I appreciated the most was, our crew of 6 people. It was a regular just white guy from Pittsburgh, but his wife was a Ukrainian, I believe Russian Ukrainian, who left Ukraine sometime in the mid or earlier 2010s. But obviously still has a lot of connections back to Ukraine and was talking a lot about what's going on there right now. It was another white guy married to, I guess, a Middle Eastern born, ethnically Indian, South Asian woman. And they actually moved to Australia about the same timeline as me and my family moved to Korea, right? And then it was also I'd now say stay-at-home mom, but she had a wonderful career in finance, but recently left that and has been stay-at-home for 4 years, raising her, 2 beautiful kids. But this stay-at-home mom she's Vietnamese ethnically, but she grew up in Germany, speaks German.
Oh, cool.
And, now is living in Jersey, right? So I just think like the things I really enjoyed, again, apart from the wedding and all the celebrations around that, was we were just talking about life and perspectives and cultures the whole time. And it was like an extension of this podcast. I wish we could have recorded our conversations. And, a lot of them were a lot more learned than me. And yeah, I think I really just loved the time because of the conversations. They were so deep and meaningful and thoughtful and thought-provoking. So, yeah.
Did you introduce them to our pod?
Of
Would
course,
they be ever listening to this?
Yeah, the topic came up. I don't think they'll ever listen to it. Yeah.
Well,
anyway, June, how's your last 2 weeks been?
yeah, I think this is a good transition. Speaking of London, while you were in Spain, there was, I think it was last week? Last week, sometime last week, you text messaged me saying like, did you see the email?
Oh,
Which
yes. Yeah.
And I saw the email, and the emails, the title started with all caps urgent. And then like something like need interview, whatever.
Yeah.
And it seemed like one of those spam mails that want to like catch your attention by putting urgent. But then as I read, it's actually a reporter from the BBC.
Yeah.
And they wanted to interview either a Korean or American person who could talk about because like there was a musical from Korea that recently won like 6 Tonys or whatever, and they wanted to cover that.
It's a sensation.
Yeah, and they wanted to talk about like why like this K culture thing is such a phenomenon.
Yeah.
And so I looked up her email domain, and it looked pretty legit, and they looked like an actual person. So first I was talking to you saying like, is this a scam? And
it felt legit to me.
It did?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like I was a little bit suspicious even while I was talking to her.
Really?
Yeah. No. Even while I was like
conducting the interview.
Yeah.
The whole time
No. When I was trying to connect to her through WhatsApp.
To plan the...
It's like that like means of communicating to you through WhatsApp, which like E2EE platform. Felt kind of sketchy.
Okay.
Especially for Korean, like talking to someone through WhatsApp, usually it's like involved in scam.
I see.
So anyways, she wanted to talk to someone, and then It was so funny because she had no doubt that because I'm Korean, I have watched that musical. And in the middle of the conversation, I was like, "Oh, I actually didn't watch the musical."
Oh no.
And then she was like, "Oh, that's gonna be a problem." I was like, "What are the odds that you thought that I watched the musical?"
Yeah.
But anyways, we ended the conversation with her asking me if you can find anyone within like an hour frame.
Yeah. Who's actually seen
who's
it?
actually watched the musical. And I think in her mind, she thought that it was easy.
Yeah.
Because I think she thought everyone in Korea might have watched that,
Yeah.
which is not the case.
Definitely
I don't
not the
think
case.
most people have actually heard about that musical.
Even heard
anyways.
about it. Yeah.
So I was
agree.
like, yes, I will. But then I was like pretty sure that I couldn't find someone.
Yeah.
And then like within 15 minutes, she contacted me back saying
Yeah.
like,
Oh, we found someone.
no, actually, we can just go with you.
Ah, okay.
And you can just talk. You just talk about Korean culture in general. And I didn't know that it was going to be broadcasted in live radio. So she was actually, long story short, I was going to be interviewed in a live radio broadcast
Yeah.
for 3.5 minutes. So we talked about, K culture and why it's so booming in the global stage and everything. It was really cool because I did the interview through WhatsApp.
Yeah.
And then I've never actually done that radio like live interview before.
Yeah.
It's really cool because you can actually hear the live broadcast in the background, and then you're constantly talking to like some staff and like, are you still there? You're gonna be up in like 2 minutes now.
Yeah.
Like stand by,
Yeah.
whatever. That was pretty cool.
You got a taste of the professional production.
Yes.
Live environment.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah.
That's cool. What
was
better
cool.
person, Jun, to talk about Korean and American culture? Did they introduce you as a top podcaster from
They
Korea?
actually did mention Korean American podcasts. Yes. They say that millions of people tune in.
Oh, to theirs. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we can say what it was, right? It was BBC's NewsHour.
Yeah, news.
Yeah, I think it's a very well-known podcast. Well, I look forward to listening to it. Do you know if it's out there right now?
It is.
Oh, how come you didn't send me the link?
Kind of embarrassed.
Anyway, that's awesome, Jun. Yeah, I hope you have more speaking opportunities.
Cool.
Okay, so moving on. If you're a regular listener, you will know we are going through 100 reflections on 100 episodes, and we have parts 1 and 2, and we're now on to part 3.
Yeah. Which
So
is
today we'll cover,
going to be the last.
which will be the last. Maybe I can hear some of you sighing relief. Yeah, again, really not sure how interesting these episodes have been. Maybe for new listeners, but at least hopefully for our longtime listeners, it's also a good chance to think back and reflect and, yeah, just think about all the episodes that you've listened to and all the topics we've covered and discussed. So yeah, today we'll be going through episodes 67 through 99
Yes.
and wrapping up this little 3-part miniseries.
Yeah, so episode 67 was about the long-awaited MBTI.
MBTI.
It's one of those things that started as a trend, but then has like really strong staying power.
Yeah.
And it still is. I think it's gonna stick forever almost, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like MBTI. It's funny because it's such a normal. It becomes so normalized in Korea.
Yeah.
Now you tend to reflect back to those relationships pre MBTI that you had and like reverse engineer. Oh, like
That's why.
they were like that, you know. That's kind of interesting. And yeah, we talked about why MBTI is such a phenomenon in Korea. And one of the conclusions that we made is because Korea is less individualistic. And so those like very minute differences mean a lot. And also putting you into a certain category sort of differentiates you from the mass, if you will.
Yeah. I what I love about not only MBTI, but also other things we talk about on this podcast sometimes, I really think it does reflect the culture, right? And like you said, Korea is very not as individualistic. And MBTI to me it's a way that Koreans can begin to
Yeah.
really reflect and think about, oh, how am I different from others?
Yeah.
And start to maybe embrace some of that individualism.
Yeah.
I also think because Korea is so homogenous, like you said, looking for those minute differences, they really stand out. And it's kind of a safe way to break the ice in that sense and begin to compare between people in maybe a less judgmental way. It's like a safe point of comparison and differentiation. And I think the final thing is, America, we've talked about maybe the West is more scientifically inclined and Korea and the East is more, what's a good way to put it? Less scientifically inclined.
They're more acceptive to mystical
pseudoscience.
things. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. It just like you say, right? Korean dragons don't have wings. I think they're more inclined to just accept some things as that. And the reason why MBTI has a negative stigma in the US is, it's not as grounded in science as maybe people would like to believe. And so it becomes almost bundled with things like horoscopes.
Yeah.
But, what is it? The Saju, is that right? The prediction?
4 pillars.
Yeah, I mean, that's foundational in Korea, right? And people love, or think about going to shamans or reading your future and thinking about that. People really believe it, right? And so I think it's also reflective of that in Korean society.
I mean, to defend the non-scientific aspect of Korea, I do want to mention that scientific thinking or analytic thinking is a very Western point of view. It's a very Western dominant thinking, which is, what is fueling the development of civilization at the moment.
Yeah.
But it's just a different way of thinking, I want to say. Yeah. We didn't do a separate Enneagram episode, did we?
Oh, that's right. Yeah. No, we have not done a separate Enneagram thing. Yeah. Enneagram, I don't know if it'll ever take off in Korea. It's not as structured or clear, at least the way it's usually presented as MBTI is, right?
Yeah.
MBTI has 4 axes. Those axes can be one or the other.
It's very simple.
Very simple, very straightforward, very structured, very systematic. Whereas Enneagram is a little bit more it's not as easy to present and it's not as easy to think about, let's say.
Cool. Let's move on.
Okay. Episode 68 was titled Jjik or Treat, which again, Jun, I think was your title.
Yes.
And it was one of the good ones. But yeah, this started from a discussion I had with my mother-in-law where she was like, we had some 탕수육 and she was like, oh, Jjik or bu, right? Is that right?
Yeah.
And Jjikmok or bumok?
Yeah.
Okay. That's the official phrase. And then she was shocked I didn't know it. And then this got us into discussing various food debates and preferences.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was a fun episode.
We dove into a lot of those food debates that are a very popular topic in Korea, namely jjik for 탕수육 or pineng or muleng, and most famously 양념 chicken or fried chicken,
yeah.
김치찌개, 된장찌개, and all that. I always enjoy talking about food. And so I remember really enjoying this episode.
Yeah, this was a fun one, I remember.
Yeah.
I do think, again, one of the conclusions for me, I don't know if we ever reached a conclusion per se, but I still stand by my take here, which is I don't know why Koreans, they seem to debate and argue about things and internalize things as part of their identity.
Yeah.
That I think is a little bit different from how Americans debate and argue over food debates.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not like I'm not like a jjajangmyeon person.
Yeah.
Or I'm not a jampong person. Some days I want one, some days I want the other, right? I'm not team one or the other.
Yeah.
Whereas Americans will often debate what's the best?
Yeah.
And they'll debate why.
Yeah.
Versus this is just my preference in a sense, right? I think the debates that Koreans have over food, I would just say is a preference. And you're not debating what's the best way or what's the best form or style of something, right?
And it goes hand in hand with the MBTI thing,
exactly,
right?
Right.
You want to differentiate yourself and categorize you and put you into a certain box voluntarily.
It's your form of individualism.
Yeah. And so now it's because it's become summer.
Yeah.
I have another one.
Okay.
In terms of 팥빙수, do you prefer the very classic pot style or the one that you put a lot of things, toppings, like fruit and whatnot?
Yeah, I have to say I like the fruit ones.
You
yeah.
do? Oh, interesting.
I mean, I like it all. That's the thing. I'll eat pot some days. I go for pot.
Yeah.
But if I had to pick one, yeah, I'm like the fruit, very sweet binsu type of guy.
I'm more of the classic, simple, just pot, and then shaved milk, and a little bit of. I actually don't prefer putting duck.
Oh, you don't like the duck?
Not really.
It's purist.
Purist.
Simple.
Yeah.
You know what's funny though? We won't get into this. My nickname growing up was Ice Cream Boy.
Yes.
And people always ask as a follow, okay, what's your favorite ice cream flavor? And I have many, but I think I always go for just simple vanilla with a topping bar.
What's a topping bar?
Oh, just like you can put any toppings you want on top of that vanilla.
Why do you call it bar though?
Anytime I think where you have like almost sarfa or like you can
Oh, the
choose your own
bar, like
toppings.
that kind of bar.
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
thinking about like a candy bar. Like
It's like that, but yeah.
No,
yeah.
like a
Oh,
bar.
candy bar.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, a buffet of toppings.
Ah.
So yeah, I always go for the whipping cream or whipped cream
Yeah.
with the caramel on top, and then maybe put like either sprinkles or something simple on top. Yeah, that's my go-to.
You know how I'm like I'm always like pick a lane.
Yeah,
Even for like soft serves, right? There's like you can mix up the swirls sometimes. There's
yeah,
like
yeah.
chocolate vanilla.
you don't
and then
like
there's
people who
like
mix half and
I
half.
don't care if they mix it, but I always pick a lane.
I see.
Yeah.
No, I like variety, June.
Interesting. You know how so I make my own ice cream at
Yes.
home and I religiously follow the salt and straw recipe book.
Yeah.
They came up with a sequel.
Oh,
and I got it
you got
through-
the second book.
Yes. So
Is it just new flavors? I mean, new recipes for new flavors.
yeah.
Is ice cream making kind of like baking in the sense that it's kind of very scientific? You have to do things for exact amount of time.
No.
Or is it more like cooking where you can like, experiment a little bit, be a little loose with the ratios?
I think it's somewhere in the middle, but more towards it's more forgiving. Yeah.
Okay. I actually thought it'd be more like baking. Interesting.
Yeah. Okay, episode 69 was our second episode, our second attempt reviewing comments and responses for our episodes. I don't know if I have anything to talk about this. Oh, we
Oh,
did.
this was in Butter.
Yeah.
I thought we mentioned in Butter in a previous one.
Oh no, I think the first one was talking about the episode where we talked about
In
AC.
Butter. Oh, and this
Yeah.
is the one responding to the
Yeah,
comments about
yeah,
in
yeah.
Butter.
Yeah, I think we can move on.
Okay. Yeah, let's just skip ahead because episode 70 was part 2 of this as well.
Yeah.
No, okay, yeah. The one reflection is, yeah, we started to explore outside of just the comments, and our first time looking at like a neighbor blog, for example, that still in hindsight was very meaningful and a healing blog post at the time. Okay, let's move on to 71.
Yeah, episode 71 was our first very daring, I don't know if it was daring, tiptoeing episode on politics. So
By the way, June, did you see one of the recent comments? I don't know if the AI translation did a good job, but they were like, you talk about democracy in a very indirect way.
Oh yeah, 조심스럽게.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. Yeah.
It's pretty timely right now because we just went through, both of our countries went through elections after this episode, right?
Yeah.
And there's so many like political turmoils going on.
It's crazy. So again, this episode was released November 2024, which was only 7 months ago at this point. But it just feels like we're living in a new world, June.
Yeah, what's going
Right?
on in LA and
Oh, the U.S.
yeah.
We'll just touch on it briefly because this is obviously could go very long. But I think in response to Trump having a military parade for his birthday, which apparently cost something like $50 million, there were protests all across the U.S. in every major city and minor city, I believe. It was called the No Kings protest, which is, we don't want any kings in America. And yeah, these had, I think, objectively much larger turnout than the military parade. And yeah, I think obviously LA has been protesting and kind of the center of a lot of protests these days because of ICE, which is immigration and customs. I don't know what ICE stands for exactly, but they're kind of the immigration police. And, one of Trump's campaigns was, he's gonna deport, did he say like 15 million people? Is that right? Let me look it up.
I stands for Immigration and Customs Enforcement. I didn't know Trump did a military
parade.
Parade.
Yeah, it's really
Is it
pathetic.
just coincidental, or did he intend to do it on his birthday
Oh, he did it
specifically?
on his birthday. Yeah, it's kind of yeah. He's
I think he's definitely shifting what like the norms of what
well,
politics.
yeah, Jun. I believe Trump campaigned on the platform, promising to deport something like 10 million illegal immigrants in the U.S.
10 million.
Yeah,
That's
that's a lot.
crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in a country that is now maybe estimated to be 400 million people, yeah,
That's
it's
a
significant.
yeah.
So,
That's 1/5 of the entire population of Korea, right?
yeah, yeah. Again, there's a lot to discuss. Whether I think most people do believe in secure borders and legal immigration. At the same time, right, the human side of things, which is people, even if they immigrated illegally, if they're hardworking and contributing to society and just trying to make their lives better, right? I think a lot of people feel very sympathetic, and in a sense, why would we want to or need to or have to deport them if they're, again, making a good life for themselves and contributing to society in all these ways? So, yeah, it's again very complicated. Anytime you're doing some sort of mass deportation without seemingly fair legal process, I think that is ripe for corruption and, the false positives in a sense, right? Is it okay to deport out of every 100 people, even if you get one person wrong?
Hmm.
Think how scary and horrible that is for that one person and their family and all their friends in the US, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that is specifically what has been causing a lot of the protests, but it just escalated and culminated in this No Kings thing, where I think it's now not only in LA, but all over the US there were protests. So,
I think politics and especially related to societal issues is very complicated, right?
yeah,
And the way that you have to approach it is should also be very sophisticated and complicated. And and I think it's a very easy way to just do it black and white,
yeah,
right? Like something is illegal, so we must stop it or something like that. I think reality is much more complicated and has more layers on top of that.
of course, yeah,
And so I don't know if this is a political statement, but I just feel like sometimes like where certain politicians handle things these days, especially, it's very done in a very extreme manner. And it's catering towards the mass public, right? And again, it goes back to my one of my points that I feel like it's a flaw of democracy is there is no way to, counterbalance what the general public thinks. And that's pretty scary, I think.
yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, is it a bug or a feature, right? I
Yeah.
think it should be a feature of democracy
Yeah.
that it caters to the mass audience,
Yeah.
right? But again, it needs to be an informed electorate, and it needs to, we need to have a very nuanced and sophisticated, in a sense, discussion rather than very blunt, black and white, and simplistic, viewpoints and talking points. But yeah, it's, I also have to say what was very scary was now elected officials, especially it seems to be targeted towards Democratic elected officials. I believe two lawmakers and their spouses or partners were murdered, killed, assassinated, whatever you want to say, in Minnesota. Yeah, that obviously is very jarring and very scary. Yeah, there's nothing more to say, right? When your elected officials that were elected through democratic fair process are being targeted for killings. Yeah, I mean that's not something you'd ever have expected to hear coming from America, at least growing up.
Yeah.
At the same time, now it seems unsurprising to me.
Yeah.
And it really tells you how far it seems like American democracy has devolved.
Yeah, I think that's one of the scary things about this administration is that they are radically shifting what the norm is. And so you hear about these very crazy news every day, and then it seems like you tend to be numb, right? At first it seemed very crazy, but now it's like, oh, like that's kind of normal, right?
Yeah.
And they shifted the norm of what politics is and what can actually happen in reality. And that I think is kind of unsettling for me.
Very unsettling for me as well, June.
Yeah.
I will say I'm very proud again of the peaceful demonstration that seems to be happening. And of course, it's not always peaceful, but yeah, I don't know what to say about that. Anyway, just very heavy and difficult topics. Not that we ever want to shy away from them, but okay. Moving on to episode 72. For the Love of the Cheering.
Ooh.
It's kind of an awkward title now that I think about it. But yes, this was when we were able to attend a Korean baseball game together. Yeah,
Yes.
it was a good time, Jun. Thanks for inviting me again.
Yeah. I think the KBO Korean Baseball League has started, I think, in March.
Yeah.
And it's going on right now.
Oh, you can tell just walking around when you start seeing more
People
wearing their
uniforms.
gear. Yeah. You can tell season started.
Yeah. Yeah, I just remember that the moment when we witnessed my brother.
Uh-huh. Oh, pulling
Yeah.
out the
The
thermos.
컵라면. Yeah. That was pretty epic.
That was epic.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I love that that's part of the culture here. Just
Yeah.
bringing in food and
Yeah.
it's just so laid back and
Yeah.
chill. Again, sports in Korea, it's entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it is entertaining in America, but it's so serious
Yeah.
and the stakes feel so much higher.
I don't think any other country is like that in the world, is it?
My understanding is European countries maybe feel the same way
Oh,
about
for
their soccer.
yeah. Oh, yeah,
But
that's
just,
true.
extend that to all of the major sports. It's like, yeah, most people will pick one or many and just become such a strong form of their identity,
Yeah.
their social circles, just like all the bonding happens over that.
And I think especially Korean baseball cheering culture is very unique in that it's very female dominated,
Oh, yeah,
female dominant, which is pretty rare in any type of sports.
I do think that's
Yeah.
different. I have to bring up, June, in the NBA world, Korean broadcasting of NBA games is now going viral.
Oh, really?
It's become a meme
For what reason?
because they're so animated.
Ah.
It's almost like it used to be growing up, I think, for soccer matches.
Yeah.
Even if you didn't understand Spanish, you had to watch the Spanish broadcasters.
Yeah.
Because they're just so much more animated and it's more exciting. And I think now the Korean broadcasters for NBA games have the same reputation.
Man.
People don't know what's happening or understanding
Yeah.
what they're saying, but they're just so animated, going crazy and over the top with their announcing. Yeah, it's become a meme.
Have you heard esports broadcasting? That's
Yes, of
next
course.
level.
Yeah, it's similar. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a similar feeling. It's just they make it so exciting to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything K.
K, even K, basketball broadcast.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you see
Oh.
this is totally unrelated, somewhat related, but Trader Joe's just came up with a new K food thing that's going viral right now.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, the bibimbapsu.
Yeah, oh, you sent it to me. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it's so fascinating
Yeah.
to witness from Korea how like everything K is such a thing right now in the States.
Yeah. Wait, June, what can you summarize what you said for the BBC episode? Why do you think K? Because we've never explored this on this pod.
Ah,
Like why the reason why I didn't want to participate at all in that interview, I have no take.
Oh.
I really don't know why it feels like anything K is expanding right now.
To summarize what I said, I think it's because Korea is very culturally isolated. First of all, because we have our own language, we have our own characters, and so there's a very unique taste in what Koreanness is. And on top of that, Korea is also very isolated economically, and therefore we are very obsessed about like exporting things and catering certain things to the global market, right? So those two things combined together, we have a very unique thing, very uniquely Korean thing in our culture. And we also was very aggressive almost about exporting this to the world. So
Interesting.
those two things combined together, I think, resulted in this.
Is that true though? I know for entertainment, it's specifically maybe K-pop. That
Yeah.
makes sense. But it never felt to me that like, let's say K-dramas or K-beauty, these were aggressively exported from the beginning. It just feels like it was hyper optimized for Korea's local preferences. And like they did it excellently.
Yeah.
And now it's finally starting to expand on the back of, let's say, K-pop.
I think K-pop definitely did act as, the frontier
Yeah.
of exporting culture, but then like people became more acceptive of what Korean culture is, and K-pop is very blurred with like K-drama and whatnot because a lot of those singers also participate in the acting. And so there's like the blurred boundary where you can really ease into going into another field.
Yeah.
And then comes like beauty and everything, food now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. I still don't get it.
You don't get why it's so popular? I don't get it either.
I don't get it. Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I
Yeah,
mean, it's not that I don't appreciate our culture, but
Of
it's
course,
like to
yeah.
this level of
Yeah.
why it's such a craze is
I don't get it. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
But yeah. Episode 73 was one of our recurring topics of covering certain news at the time. Oh, at the time there was this very hot topic about the protests in Dongdeok
Mm-hmm.
Women's University. And then that was a time when Hangang won the Nobel Prize for Literature. Oh, and then the craze for
Well, 아파트.
Rose and Bruno Mars Aparte.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was, buying some small knickknacks as gifts for my kids in Spain, in Mallorca specifically.
Yeah.
And yeah, one of the, I guess, artisans selling things, she was telling us about her daughter, who's 10, who loves Blackpink. And yeah, I will say overall, it didn't feel like K culture had reached Spain. Right. Well, I know there must be a Koreatown
Yeah.
in Madrid, but I didn't see any Korean restaurants, let's say. Whereas I did see Chinese and Japanese restaurants everywhere.
Yeah.
So to that extent, I feel like it's still maybe on the surface. But yeah, she definitely knew Blackpink through her daughter. Any updates to this stuff? Let's see. Hangang. I do think we had talked about, do we expect to see more Koreans reading? And yeah, I haven't seen it at all.
Yeah, I think it was a one-off, right? Yeah.
Okay. But yeah, obviously, June, BTS is out of military.
Oh, yeah, I do want to mention, I don't think I covered in that specific episode, but Korean people do tend to read a lot through a medium of web novels.
Webtoons specifically, or
Not only webtoons, but also web novels, web 소설.
what's a web novel? I've never heard of this.
You just it's the same as webtoons, but it's just like
Is it an
Web-
ebook?
it's
Is it illustrated?
it's not illustrated, it's
Oh,
just
okay.
it's just letters, but it's like web 소설, meaning that
Oh, is it like episodic? Every week they were.
Yeah.
It's like Substack in a sense, but for.
novels. And a lot of those become the basis of what K-dramas are. So there's like that ecosystem. And
Interesting.
Korean people tend to read a lot of web 소설.
Yeah, I want to reinforce this point. I think the webtoons or web novels, the fact that this is such a robust industry in Korea, I do think is responsible for a lot of the kind of K-drama or K-movie craze.
Yeah.
Because it's so much source material.
Yeah.
Right? Like think about, in America, it has to be a published book in a sense, or a famous novel.
Yeah.
But how many successful authors are there compared to the amount of, I guess, the ease of releasing a successful webtoon or web novel in Korea? Yeah, it's just so much more source material.
Yeah. To the point where when I learned that certain K-dramas are like original,
It's
it
surprising,
surprises me.
exactly. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
it's not based on a webtoon
Yeah,
or
yeah.
a web novel. That's very surprising.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Episode 74, Red Days. Okay. So this is where we went over the calendar and I believe the holidays in our respective countries to see what that, brought up or what that reflected. Yeah. June, it was Father's Day yesterday in America. And that
was
was one
it?
of the big differences. There's no separate Mother's or Father's Day in Korea. There's just Parents' Day. I guess I wanted to bring up one question. Let's say one of your parents has passed away. What do you do on Parents' Day in that sense? Do you still honor them? Do you reflect on them?
No, it's
Or is
not.
it's really about your living parents, right?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that's a big difference because for Mother's Day or Father's Day, if your mother or father has passed away, you always use that as a chance to kind of reflect and memorialize or celebrate their life. And I think that's a good rhythm, let's say, in American culture and the holiday calendar.
Yeah.
But in Korea, that happens typically on, like, you have a separate jesa or whatever. Like, when do you do that in Korea?
Oh, don't you have it too? You don't have a 제사 in the States?
You do celebrate on, let's say, that specific day of their passing. you always think and reflect as well. I think Mother's Day and Father's Day is another chance to reflect on that.
Yeah, I think the only time when we memorialize the past is the 제사.
And when do you do that?
On the day of the passing.
On the day of the passing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Speaking of red days, this year, 2025, we have a lot of like those very long consecutive holidays, which is coincidental in Korea because we don't celebrate certain holidays on like, let's say like the Monday of the fourth week of certain months.
Yeah.
Like it is in the States. So it's very coincidental. And we have a very big one coming up on October as well.
Yeah.
And it made me realize 2025 was that year when
It all lined up.
I think like 5 years ago when it was pretty viral in Korean internet saying like the reason why you have to live until 2025 is because we have like these big holidays. And I realized this year was that year. Yeah.
It all lined up for a lot of long extended holidays. I remember reflecting, I really do love how America's holidays, let's say, at least when we celebrate them, it's so practical, right? It's like make it on a Friday, make it on a Monday, make it the fourth whatever of the month, right? And so even though the date may change, the timing and how it fits into our life, right, into an extended weekend or whatever, it's consistent and it's something you can always look forward to and plan around.
Yeah.
Whereas, I don't know, Korea's is more, let's say, traditional, right? It like, of course, there's a lunar calendar aspect too.
Yeah.
But it's like it's always that same date.
Yeah.
Which is nice. But it's not practical, right?
Not
you have to, like, when are you can observe it?
Yeah.
Are we observing it or not? So.
Yeah. But it's also more, I guess, it's a pleasant surprise when it tends to coincide on a Monday or a Friday. So yeah. Okay.
All right.
Episode 75, Korea Eyes. This was about fashion and how fashion, you tend to look differently for a certain fashion depending on the environment that you're immersed in.
Yeah.
I remember your I guess white blazer jacket with baby blue stripes.
Still never worn a single time. Yeah, I think one thing I mean I just still crack up because I remember you said when I told you my expression for this is, oh, I think I have Korea eyes. You're like, that sounds oddly racist. But yeah, just reflecting, I will say it is still shocking to me how quickly I think your not only fashion sense, but just getting immersed into a culture and beginning to adopt some of the cultural norms and practices. Yeah. Just how quickly and deeply it can happen. Yeah. Still surprising to me.
Do you feel it this time in Spain?
In daily life, I think I still surprise myself how much I seem to have converted more into the Korean way of thinking. I think specifically around not saying everything I think or everything on my mind. I just chama a lot more. I just eat my words. Yeah. Because I think I'm thinking, well, what's the point? Or how are they going to receive it? I think it is more of less of an individualistic way of thinking. Yeah. Because, as an individual in that mindset, of course, you're always going to say what you think or feel. Like, you're just going to express yourself. Why not? Yeah. Right. And I think more and more, I'm constantly thinking about, okay, how is the listener going to receive it? Is this even worth saying? What are the consequences? Right. That math, I think, maybe I did it before, but it always tilted in favor of like, of course I'm going to say how I feel. Of course I'm going to express myself. Now I think I just, let my thoughts be my own thoughts and keep them inside. I don't know if this is a good thing, but this is one thing for sure I feel myself doing more. And I think it's just the culture, being here, living here. I think I would attribute a lot of this to that.
Wait, and that's a very interesting answer to my question. It's because you had certain thoughts, but you're not going to share it? Because the question was, did you feel the same way in Spain about fashion?
Oh, about fashion?
Yeah.
No, I didn't at all. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't, it's different. Oh, why is that? I'm not into fashion in general. Yeah, I think I wasn't there long enough to either pick up on any fashion differences. I didn't notice anything, actually. Maybe one thing I noticed is that everyone wears shades there. Yeah. It felt like a little bit more like America, but even more so. That's the only thing that jumped out to me fashion-wise. Yeah. I did not get Spanish eyes while being in Spain for 6 days. But no, June, I can say it's not really the fashion, but because I think there's so much maybe more, I don't know if it's rich history or the architecture is so different than both America and Korea. I did start to just notice things more with respect to that. It's like, oh, that roof tiling is a bit different. Oh, the colors are different. Oh, the shutters are different. Right? It's just because you're surrounded and immersed in it.
Yeah.
Those differences start to pop out more, I think. Yeah. But yeah, not fashion related per se. All right, moving on. Episode 76, Snow Day, No Way. This one was about basically another daily life. And it was in response to, there was a lot of snow. Our kids had a day off and we started playing. And I think the catalyst for this one was, oh, wow, Korean snowmen are different than American snowmen.
Yeah.
And the funniest thing was, we didn't talk about this before. Like, you knew exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it is true that snowmen are designed and built differently.
And I really loved certain comments that from our listeners who also analyze why they're different about like it's very line-based art versus very three-dimensional art and everything. And that was very fascinating.
Yeah.
I also put in a lot of effort making the thumbnail of this episode.
I think this has to be my all-time favorite thumbnail, June.
Yeah.
This was epic. Yeah, I loved it. Oh, this was also, I shared my first experience eating jokbal.
Oh, do you have it
More now?
More?
Yeah, I can't say I get it regularly. I'm back towards the middle. I think obviously that experience was just really fun of eating it for the first time.
Yeah.
But I eat it. I look for a chance to eat it now. I can't say it's in my regular rotation
I see.
of food. Yeah, once every few months.
Cool. I just had it yesterday too. Episode 77 is another reflection episode. So I don't know if like there's a lot to talk about here.
The only thing I'll say, June, about episode 77, thinking back now on kind of ending 2024, is that I guess I would say our planning from the previous quarterly podcast meeting, which is really just getting lunch, it worked in the sense that it really felt like our podcast settled into a groove.
Yeah.
We had all these consistent episode topics and formats that made it seem fresh, but also wasn't as much overhead and pressure coming up with new topics or deep, meaningful things that we have to prep and discuss for. And so, yeah, it just really felt like...
Became much more structured.
Exactly. Yeah, just we had our regular news episodes, comment, read, and respond episodes, media reviews. And so, yeah, things just seem to flow. Yeah, I think that's a good thing in my mind, and it's what I would credit our podcast, let's say longevity to, despite you starting work and being busy with full-time work and all that. So having lived here by virtue of me living in Korea so long now, just like things are less fresh and I don't have as many daily life topics. Yeah, I would really credit it to that structure we put in.
Yeah.
All right, episode 78, Lady Vengeance. This was a media review of very famous, probably the most famous Korean director. But Park Chan-wook.
Park Chan-wook.
Which, probably one of the first Korean films that was popular globally. Before Parasite, there was Old Boy. And I think I didn't realize that was the third, installment of the Vengeance trilogy.
Yeah.
And Lady Vengeance was the second one. And so, yeah, I still remember this film. It was a very beautiful film.
I remember us deciding to cover this in response to one of our listeners in Discord wanting to talk about the topic, the theme of revenge in Korean media. So, yeah, we talked about like institutional injustice versus individualism. Or like usually in American media, when they cover the theme of revenge, it's mostly around individual justice. Whereas in Korea, it has to do a lot about institutional injustice and like the societal.
Like it's fighting the system, fighting the collective, injustice that's being done to me as an individual, but representative of me in that society, almost. Yeah, I do think that's interesting.
Yeah, which was also interesting in this film in the way that they portrayed it is because it's very symbolically depicted as like this collective revenge thing where all the families of the victims gathered together and they plotted out how they're going to do it in a very systematical way also.
Yeah, that was very funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is definitely one scene I will remember from this movie.
Yeah.
And how it reflects Korean society. I think is very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, interesting. We did 2 consecutive media reviews.
Yeah, we didn't record them, I think, necessarily, or plan it that way, but we had to do Squid Game too, right? Like, Squid Game it's still, I believe, the most watched Netflix series of all time. And that to me felt like peak momentum as far as like Korean culture, K-dramas, etc.
Yeah.
Like the world being exposed to that
Yeah.
was Squid Game 1. That was peak. So yeah, Squid Game 2, we had to do a review on it. I think it's timely. I believe Squid Game 2 Part 2
Yeah. Is coming up
soon. Yeah.
next month, I think,
Oh.
July. Yeah. It wasn't, I mean, we all expected this, but it wasn't as much of a phenomena as the first season.
Yeah.
But it was still pretty good. Yeah.
Of
It
course
wasn't
it
a
was still
total
enjoyable.
fail.
I did not. I really thought it felt like 80% filler. And yeah, I kind of watching Squid Game 2 did make me really appreciate typically how Korean series don't do sequels. It's just one series and one and done, right?
Yeah.
And now it feels like more and more again, well, I'll call it the Netflixization of K-dramas.
Yeah.
I don't like it. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, of course it can be satisfying to build upon the same characters and have that continuity. But yeah, this is definitely a part I don't like of the, let's say, globalization of K-dramas. Okay, episode 80, Yasa Jinji, which
Yes,
is
Jinji. Yeah.
kind of a weird title, but it's the typical Korean Taiwan trip itinerary.
Yeah.
And so this is in response to me and my family's trip to Taiwan for, I believe, 10 days, which was an awesome time. And yeah, my top reflection was maybe a bit provocative. Taiwan was what I wish Korea was.
Yeah.
Or what I thought Korea would be before I moved. And just in the sense that it, I think, has, in my mind, a better balance of holding on to the old while still, embracing the new. Whereas I feel like Korea's gone much more in favor of just modernizing and moving forward rather than kind of holding on to old traditions and things like that. Yeah.
I also want to mention Yesu Jinji it's a very symbolic thing that shows how Koreans think about a lot of things. Like you have to do what everyone else does, and there's like a thing that you always have to do.
Yeah.
Which I don't particularly like especially in tourism.
Yeah, I remember sharing the story of one of our kids' friend's mom and just how different of a person she is in her hometown with her hometown friends in her hometown environment compared to in Korea where she doesn't speak the language and really doesn't know anyone, right? And again, just a constant reminder of how context dependent we all are. Jun, the other thing I wanted to say about this, I don't think we ever discussed it on air or even off air. What is it with, let's say, I would say Asians, right? Asians and tour, like the tour bus thing. The stereotype is, bunch of Asians pile onto a bus, they go from stop to stop, go off, take a picture, get back on, right? Like that is the let's say, tourism experience.
Yeah.
Why is that so appealing again? I think you mentioned a bit of it, but I want to address it directly.
I think it goes back to the individualism and collectivism thing where I think usually when Westerners travel somewhere, they have a very individualistic taste of how they want to explore the other country. So, and therefore collectively getting into a bus and experiencing everything with a bunch of other people all together at the same time is not as appealing. And on top of that, I think usually, like especially East Asian culture, they really endorse efficiency.
It is very efficient.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so you don't want to think about it. And also, I think there's a culture, especially in Korea, in which like you do a lot of traveling together when you're old, after you retired, and therefore you don't have like the Stamina. Yeah. To explore the city on your, or explore a country on your own.
Yeah. Is it okay? Because there's couple of things I did want to explore. I think this could be a much deeper topic. So when let's say Westerners travel, I'll just speak for myself, right? When I want to travel to a place, I do a lot of research. Try to is this gonna be like an eating trip where I'm gonna optimize around the places I eat? Is it, I'm gonna check off all the tourist boxes, or am I gonna just kind of is an experiential trip where I'm just like trying to do daily life there, right? And obviously that's a lot of work. I guess one of my questions is the typical tour bus experience, is that satisfying for Koreans when they do it? Or is it just like the easiest thing to do? I don't think I would find it satisfying, right? And so I'm just questioning, is this actually deeply satisfying for Koreans when they travel?
I think it might be satisfying for people who think that they have to check the box for all the touristy spots.
That's what I wanted to get to.
Yeah, and if you go with one of those group, what do you call it in Korean? 단체 관광, like a group tour. You very effectively and efficiently can hit all those spots.
Yeah.
And on top of that, this is what I realized because I went to Daegu over the past weekend.
Yeah.
And my dad went to a trip, not necessarily a trip, but he went to a conference in China. And so he did like the little tour thing, but he did have one person who tagged along with him was Chinese. And I think one of the big reasons that especially old people tend to prefer having a tour guide and going together is because of the language barrier.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think especially for English speaking people from an English speaking country, I think they have a mindset of like, oh, I speak English so I can get my way around.
Yeah.
Even when things don't go the way that they expected, they can get help.
Yeah.
But I think I really resonated with my dad because he thinks that he can't go get around places if he get into trouble or something.
That's true.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, it's like a safety and convenience thing.
Yeah.
It's like if I don't go together with like one tour guide who can translate for me, how do I even get around or communicate?
Yeah.
I see. Okay, another thing I was thinking was, again, limiting the downside. It's like Koreans don't want that FOMO, I think, that comes from missing something. So at least if they all do it together, we're all both seeing things and missing the same things together. So I won't feel bad. Like in comparison to the other people on the tour bus, we all got the same experience, right? And, I think that's a common thing we've talked about, whether it's education, trends or whatever. It's like, okay, at least if I'm not better or worse than my neighbor or my fellow group tour participant, we're all doing it together, right? So in that sense, it's very, I'm not missing out on anything, right? Even if the upside is not as high, there's no downside.
Yeah. And on top of that, I think there's a very strong sense of if you go to this country, you at least have to see this and this
you
and
have
this.
to do this, yeah.
That's why we have the word 예스진지, right?
Yeah.
And so you don't want to miss out on that also.
Interesting. Okay, I do actually think we could talk about this a lot more, but let's move on.
Okay. So 81 was a long-awaited one for me personally, where I wanted to talk about design. And I think we did hit on some interesting points, but I just remember it was wildly unpopular.
Oh, was it? As far as viewership or listeners?
Yeah.
Okay. One thing I'll bring up, Jun, is, in this episode, I also in, our experience working in tech, I think we're all aware that German is a good test language because it's very long and very verbose. But actually, recently traveling in Europe with someone who is German, or at least grew up in Germany, I began to understand why. I never knew why.
Why German language is so long?
Yeah.
Oh, why is it?
It's because it's so literal.
Oh.
And so the word for hug, let's say, this was the example they brought up.
Yeah.
I'm going to butcher this, right? But, Americans or Westerners, we just created a new word to mean hug.
Yeah.
But hug in German, it's like literally like two arms embracing another person with two arms. Like it's just very literal. So they don't necessarily create new words. They just concatenate or describe that with existing words.
Oh, interesting.
And that's why it can be very, very long. And it's very verbose, but it's also very explicit. And there's no, it's not ambiguous at all, let's say.
It might influence a lot in the way that they think, right?
Of course,
Very
yeah.
descriptive.
Exactly.
Oh, interesting.
And also, in a sense, very black and white, right? I think Germans are known to be very blunt and straightforward in that way.
Yeah, yeah.
They're just very literal. And so, yeah, anyway, it was interesting because, again, I had known that German was very long and verbose, but I didn't know why.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll say this, though, Jun. More and more, I do think that the thumbnails and actually Western style shorts and clips have changed and evolved in the last couple of years to be more Korean. And what I mean by that is I see a lot more text everywhere. Yeah, it used to not be as prevalent and not as, let's say obvious and all over.
Yeah.
But now I see it, and I do think it's actually changed. I don't think it's just my perception of it.
Yeah. This topic of design, especially in terms of like digital product design, hit me very hard because we're going through this in my company every day, daily, because we have two teams. We have separate teams of design, both in the US and in Korea.
Yeah.
And we have like very specifically different views on what good design is. It's very interesting. Also, I think design is entering a new realm right now, specifically after Apple's WWDC this year.
Oh, really?
Where, yeah, I think it was kind of a letdown for most viewers because they spent so much time on explaining their new design language.
Yeah.
Where like when like every other company is talking about AI,
Yeah,
they're like, oh, we came up with a new design, which was the quote unquote liquid glass design. I sometimes think Apple's naming is too over the top, like cringe right now, like liquid.
Like they're trying too hard to be cool. Yeah.
Liquid glass. I don't know, but it does. The reason why I say that we're entering a new realm of design is that liquid glass design language is very transparent, and I think it's their sort of like an entryway of exploring the augmented reality interfaces. And they want to experiment it in mobile first because, obviously you have to have more transparent interfaces when things are augmented in your world. Yeah.
I do think, sorry, before I move, I say that. Didn't Google also release a new design system or language at I/O this year?
They did. I think they always do because
they
they have
always
they have the material design thing, which is, I think, more robust than Apple's design system.
I think your Apple bias is showing.
No, I love Google design too.
Okay. No, the other thing I want to bring in, I do think we're moving away from this. Let's say the past 10 years has been very app-centric. Past 15 years, right? Ever since the mobile phones have taken over and changed everything of how we interface with computers. Yeah, I think the app-centric design world is going to be slowly fading away.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we're moving into a more,
Immersive.
everything's lightweight, concurrent, immersive, and it's all about the APIs underneath. And the UI is going to be, let's say, lighter weight.
Light하게.
I do believe that's the trend. Yeah. So.
Cool.
Okay. Episode 82 was news headlines from December to January 2025. And so, yeah, we covered 4 significant events. It was martial law declaration in Korea, the Jeju air crash tragedy, the murder of, this was in the US, and 2 US news events, the United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson, being murdered, as well as the Los Angeles wildfires.
It's so interesting because a lot of these have like some connection to what's currently going on.
Yeah, they're
right?
all very relevant today.
Martial law, of course. Because of this, the former president got impeached. Now we have a new president. Jeju air crash is also timely because we had another very tragic plane crash in India. And then the murder of United Healthcare is somewhat related to the recent assassination in Minnesota. Los Angeles wildfires, it's because of the location of Los Angeles. We have like the protests going on in Los Angeles. Yeah.
And also since then, Korea had their own wildfire tragedy as well.
Yeah.
So
LA is going through a lot. I'm planning to visit LA this December.
Yeah. Yeah, I just talked to someone too who's, going to be in LA for a month this summer. Yeah, they're also not sure how, worried they should be or how concerned they should be about their safety. But I would say in general, yeah, I do check in with my friends time to time just to ask like, oh, news seems crazy in the US. How are things day to day on the ground? If you don't actively go out looking for or going to the, let's say, demonstrations or the, let's say, higher risk or more dangerous areas, I think day to day you should feel pretty safe and things are pretty normal.
I see.
It's just more at the macro level. And if you are really, passionate and are looking to participate, let's say, then I think it can be a little bit more scary. But okay, we're moving on.
Episode 83. Oh, this is when we started doing these very long descriptive titles, I think. The title is Korean Citizenship Prep Growing Up Russian Korean, 전라남도 Living and Fishing. Yeah. This is in pledge to our
2025 resolution.
wanting to have more guests on. This was, I think, one of my favorite recent episodes. The things that they had a very interesting profile to begin with, right? The stories that especially Lyra had to say about Russian Koreans and that history of Sahalin was very fascinating, and it made me want to invite more guests that have, those very interesting backgrounds that usually not a lot of people might have heard of. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this episode was also one of my favorites. It made me very proud of what we had built on this podcast. Mostly that we could give a platform so that more people could hear about the story of what Sakhalin Koreans and Russians. And, even on this recent Euro trip, again, I shared earlier, one of the people I hung out with a lot was a, Russian Ukrainian. And, she even had heard of Sakhalin and even said there was a recent documentary that was kind of popular that I think helped a lot of Russians also understand the history. From that person's perspective, by the way, they had shared that Sakhalin is typically seen as like a really tragic, sad, and really poor place in Russia. But that actually a lot of Russians would be aware of it now. And maybe this is controversial, but kind of agree it should be a part of Japan. But yeah, there's basically a lot even more backstory and history there that we might not have been aware of. But yeah, and that's, again, I really love that couple, and I really enjoyed this interview for that reason. They're just so down to earth and practical, and just have really, I think, deep perspective, even though they're so young.
Yeah. One other reason that I particularly appreciated this episode is because you don't really hear about Russia a lot, and you tend to have a very particular bias towards Russia or China, North Korea, or those countries, right? And although it might be although a lot of them might be true, I think Lyra specifically shed a very human color to what Russian life is, which made me think that it's not very different from what our normal life is like. That I appreciated a lot as well. And also, it was really fascinating that they chose to live, like the places that they chose to live in Korea was, places that even Koreans might not have experienced firsthand, right? All these very 시골 places like Tongyang or Gangjin, I think that's where they live right now. So that was also very fascinating too. They recently had a wedding, right? Do you want to share this?
I went to their, I had shared I went to 2 weddings in one day. Their wedding was one of them.
Yeah.
And hard injunct to everything you said about them sharing their life and having a different perspective, I think, than a lot of Koreans, which goes hand in hand. They have a ton of life experience and have lived all over and have experienced a lot.
Yeah.
And so I think it shows in how they choose to live their day-to-day life.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, they do have 2 young kids. That wedding was mostly because they had wanted to get married, but then COVID happened and all of that. But they still wanted to celebrate, and I think, again, for their family, they still had that wedding. So,
was there anything special about the wedding?
Yeah, typical Korean wedding.
Yeah.
I met a very nice mutual friend that Seo had always wanted to introduce me to, that runs a restaurant in Busan. And I hope to connect with them again in the future. But yeah. All right, episode 84, A Tale of Two COVIDs. Yes. Very timely, right? We had just talked about that in relation to why they had their wedding delayed. Yeah, I mean, we just discussed this in this episode. We discussed how Korea and America responded to COVID very differently. I think a lot of how Korea responded made it much more appealing, let's say,
Yeah.
for my family to maybe be in Korea. It made us wish that America responded to these things kind of in a lot of ways how Korea responded. And yeah, definitely the collectivist mentality is maybe some of the benefits are at their peak in response to these really, let's say, existential crises where everyone just needs to get on the same page very quickly and comply in that way for the collective safety, right? And I think this episode really also took me back because, again, COVID was a catalyst for why my family even chose to move out of America for this season.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think this was a long-awaited episode, and yeah, very glad that we covered it in depth.
Do you know that there's a recent spike in COVID cases right now?
I did not know, but
Yeah.
not surprising. I
Yeah.
think it's just something we have to live with now,
Yeah.
much like the flu.
Episode 85 was another guest episode where we had the Honey Jam team, Janice and David. I like this episode too because they have very, especially Janice. She has a very unique character and she has a lot of energy that is quite different from the vibe that we give off.
Yeah.
And so I think that mixture was kind of interesting. And yeah, their take on Korea, we resonated a lot with. I remember the moment when I think David said that the only thing salty in Korea is the toothpaste. He put it so well. Yeah, I liked having. I wish we could have them back someday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Again, nothing more to add, really. Really fun episode. Very different energy and vibe. And yeah, they brought the young person energy. This to me was a good reminder, I think, of how quickly, let's say, you can become friends in America.
Yeah.
And just like, especially amongst like the Korean American circle.
Yeah.
There's just so much we have in common. Yeah, it's very, very quick to become friends. Okay. Moving on to 86. This was called Chilgai Ping, which, this was a trends episode where we talk about the latest trends in Korea, whether it's related to food, fashion, technology, language, culture, and even finance. And one of them was, teeny ping, which was funny enough, hilarious to me, June, that, while we're both relatively same age, living in the same area in Korea, our day-to-day lives are completely different.
Yeah. I think they're coming up with a movie, right?
Oh, God.
On
Teeny
the
Ping?
Teeny Ping. Yeah.
It's such a marketing sham, June.
But I'm now proud to say that I understand what Teeny Ping is.
Teeny Ping is, yeah. I'm also proud to say I know who the Chill Guy, what is it? Chill Guy meme?
Yeah.
Chill Guy, I see it everywhere now. And if it weren't for this episode and for you, I would not have known what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was another trends episode that you know that I love trends episode. We also talked about the gu trend, the 백구, 신구, whatever.
Yeah, which is still going strong. I see
Yeah.
these things everywhere still.
Yeah. Demure, we talked about demure. There's another buzzword that's going on in the internet in Korea right now, which you might find hilarious.
Because it's some bastardized Konglish.
Yeah.
What is it?
There's a word called 애견남 and 테토남.
Egg and tet?
애견 and
Nam.
테토남.
So that's guy. I know nam is guy.
Yeah.
Okay, and the other is what?
테토남.
Tetonam. So no, I have no idea.
It's describing a type of personalities in men.
Okay.
Where it's basically more like feminine type and more masculine type.
Which one's which?
Try to guess now.
I have no idea. Eggen teton?
I don't know why, but again is short for
Egyo?
estrogen.
Testosterone?
Yeah.
Wow. Say that again.
애견남,
For
테토남,
estrogen.
Yeah.
And the other one
테토남.
for testosterone. Even knowing it, June, I still don't get
It's
it.
so weird, right?
Interesting.
Even for me as a Korean, I find
Little
this
cringy.
particular way of describing a non-Korean word is very unique.
What is the Korean? Sorry, are those the actual Korean translations for the words estrogen and testosterone?
It's not.
It's not.
It's estrogen and testosterone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so those sound more like
Yeah.
the English equivalents,
Yeah.
but they somehow shortened into that. Okay.
Oh, this episode was also a sponsored episode by Kinley Park.
Woo! Shout out.
Yay.
June, do you know if they can still get that discount using our code? Probably.
Probably, but I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
I think after that, they did like a paid promotion video. They did like a campaign thing in Instagram,
yeah,
which went
yeah.
pretty well. Yeah.
Cool. Glad we could help them out.
Episode 87, another listener comments episode. Did you find-
Someone said American strawberries are like the vegetables you put into soup.
Yeah.
Basically bland and not very tasty.
But there was some thread of discussion around strawberries recently in our Discord.
In our Discord, yeah. Very deep discussion.
Yeah.
And apparently, yeah, the farm grown strawberries in America taste a lot sweeter and a lot more like Korean strawberries. But then there was another guest who recently, not guest, there was another listener in our Discord who had very recently moved to Korea and confirmed, like, oh, they weren't sure all this, hate on American strawberries before, but they were like, now that I've tried Korean strawberries, I get it. It's true.
Yeah.
American strawberries are basically like cucumbers.
Yeah.
Moving on. Okay. Episode 88 this was another guest episode with Nelson, aka So Churner on Instagram. Finding heaven on earth and being a bridge. Yeah, I love Nelson.
Yeah.
I think he's a kindred spirit for both of us, but me in particular. I remember talking with him and I was like, wow, it's like talking to a younger me. And he was like, wow, he said the same thing about me. It's like talking to my future self. And I think we're very aligned in that desire to kind of bridge our cultures together. And that really is kind of his platform and what he uses his, shorts for, which I love.
I really like the way that he views life in general, like turning anything that could seemingly some might think that is an unfortunate thing to something very fortunate. And I think this is when we talked about the 원효대사 해골물, like the Buddhist philosophy.
Oh, yeah.
Which I think was very in tune with how he thinks about the world in general. And it was also very fascinating because he was it's not often that you meet a Korean who grew up in Brazil, right? And so the way that he thinks was also very different from, I think, a typical Korean American.
Agreed. Yeah. I mean, he didn't even spend that much time in America.
Yeah.
Even though he grew up in international school in Brazil. Yeah, I think really truly just kind of a mix of all three cultures.
Yeah. And also him being this huge influencer.
Yeah.
I think he helped us bring in a lot of listeners.
Thank you, Nelson.
Yeah. Because he specifically also made a video recommending our podcast.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Yeah, that was a funny short. He said, if you learn the language but not the culture, you run the risk of being a fluent fool. Yeah, I think he's pretty brilliant when it comes to social media and shorts in general. So it was really great to have him on. And yeah, we continue to meet time to time and really, really value his friendship.
Yeah.
Yeah, one thing that stands out to me was we dove a little bit deep into his Korean military service.
Oh, yes, we did.
Because June, you did not have a traditional, let's say, military service. So this was a chance to really dive deep and explore that. And
he had like the most hardcore
super
military.
surprising. Yeah, just like if you get to know him, you wouldn't expect this from him. And again, another example of when you're in the culture, in this case, when you're in the Korean military culture, you just become a typical Korean military guy, despite what your natural, character might be. So anything else? Move on.
Yeah, let's move on.
Okay.
Yeah, episode 89 was around social circles when we wanted to talk about this, and we had a heated debate, or I don't even know if it's a debate. But
no, this was definitely our most. I still remember because I still say this today. This was the first episode where we finished recording, and I felt so unsatisfied.
Yeah.
Like every episode I don't expect necessarily to get to the point where I agree with Korean culture. That's not the goal, right? But my goal is always to get to the place of understanding.
Yeah.
And I just remember feeling so unsatisfied. Also, I was in a very bad place mentally, which I don't know if I fully recovered from. I bounced back a little bit, of course, but just being very deeply unsatisfied and depressed thinking about Korean society and culture. And I think it really showed in this episode.
Yeah. I think at the time I was a bit confused
Yeah.
in trying to understand your stance
Yeah.
because I was just trying to explain. I think at the time I didn't know. I had less of an understanding of where you're coming from, and I just was trying to explain what it is, and like it is the way it is, kind of.
Yeah.
But then like you wanted to really, I think you really wanted to just understand how social interactions work in Korea.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk about later, but I was happy to sort of do a sequel on this in our attempt to try to understand how social circles and social interactions work in Korea. But at the time, I think it was frustrating for you and confusing for me at the same time. I remember reading the comments, and one comment said that it's like too tense.
Yeah.
They felt like too tense and even trying to listen to the conversation. Yeah.
You can really think of this as part one, and Jung part two was part two. So this is like a little mini series on deep diving into that. But Jun, this is one of those things you asked me earlier, I think, at some point in this recent 3-part series, reflecting on these episodes, like how have I changed being in Korea? And I think I responded, and this is one of the key things, is I think living in Korea has reinforced my, I think, American opinion and mindset when it comes to social circles.
Yeah.
Like I still really, the most natural, comfortable, I think, optimal environment for me is having a really broad, let's say, loose social circle, a lot of them, and a lot of these communities that are very open, but not as deep, right? And there's no, let's say, not as much expectation or commitment, and it feels just very free to be in these.
Yeah.
And you might not get that much out of it, but you don't put that much into it either. It's just nice. And I think, I don't know why. I think I'm just wired that way. I don't know if it's entirely cultural, because we got a lot of comments, June, saying, hey, I'm American and I kind of like the Korean approach more, right? Like, I don't want all these loose, meaningless social connections, right? I just want a few really deep, meaningful ones. And so again, it is just case by case.
Yeah.
As a whole, I do think this kind of reinforces, I really miss and appreciate and value this really broad set of looser social ties.
Yeah. Yeah, we might be talking about this later when we're talking about the sequel. But I really do think that Korean society now, because we're moving towards a more individualistic society, we do need to learn more tools that could act as a lubricant in individualistic and sometimes might be too isolated and lonely society. So yeah, I do believe in that there's a benefit in trying to learn these tools that Western society has been for a very long time cultivating. Yeah.
I see it here and there. June, there in my apartment complex, there's this one, she doesn't seem very old. I would put her at like mid-30s. But there's a lady with a dog, and every morning she walks the dog and talks to every single like apartment worker, Kwanli. She talks, I feel like she knows everyone and just very open and social in that way.
Nice.
But I also think at one point I heard her speaking like another language on the phone. So I also think she's not...
Which is not English.
Like 100% Korean in that sense. Like she has some exposure or lived abroad and is just bringing that socialness, let's say. But I love to see it, right? I think it makes the whole community feel closer.
Yeah.
And I for sure know the Gwanli people appreciate it, right? They love talking to her. And she knows their lives, they know her life. And just acting like this glue almost in the community.
Yeah.
I really love to see it. Moving on, episode 90. This was our June's long-awaited from June's perspective.
Yeah.
I Am Solo season 24 review.
Yeah, always wanted to cover I Am Solo. The reason why we couldn't cover it for a very long time is because it officially doesn't provide subtitles in Netflix.
I just hate Netflix for that, right? There's no reason why they shouldn't have the English subs.
Yeah.
I know they have them. They just don't provide them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, one of the reasons why I really wanted to cover this is not only because it's very entertaining as a show, but also it's sort of like a social experiment in my mind. And there's so many like nuanced Korean social aspects that you can witness in every episode. And yeah, but fortunately we found that you can watch subtitles in Viki, I
Viki,
believe. Yeah,
Jun, you love social experiments.
I do.
Yeah, I don't know if I would. Reality TV in general is not my thing. I never got too deep into The Bachelor or whatever.
Yeah.
In America either. But yeah, it was fun. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, that guy, I'll never forget. I don't know his name, but yeah.
Also, this is the episode where we talked about cat style and dog style faces, and then we went into like tofu style.
June.
Yeah.
I think on this recent trip back from Spain,
Yeah.
on my Korean Air flight, I finally saw my first like tubusan sang.
Oh, you
Tubusan.
did?
Yeah,
Person.
because it was a stewardess.
Yeah.
And I was like,
She looks like
she's
tofu.
not, well, I was like, she's not pretty,
Yeah.
but she's not ugly for sure.
Yeah.
Just very pleasant and plain. And I was like, oh my God, I think she's tubusan.
Yeah, maybe that's
Yeah,
true.
So I think I now know a little bit, finally, of what a tubusang face is.
But through this discussion, I did go around asking what a tubusang is to my Korean friends, and I did conclude that tubusang is also very controversial in like everyone has a different opinion on what
Okay,
tubusang
okay.
is
Yeah.
amongst Koreans as well.
All right.
But yeah, there's
But it's still, I do want to clarify though, it's still generally seen as a neutral to positive term.
yes,
It's not a bad thing.
it's not a bad thing. Yeah,
Because I definitely think plain Jane would maybe be the equivalent
yeah,
in US terms. And I think that's neutral to slightly negative.
yeah.
Yeah, you don't stand out. Very boring.
I think once you understand what the opposite of tubusang is, you get to understand what tubusang is better.
What is the opposite of tubusang?
It's the arapsang.
Did we talk about? I don't think we talked about this.
We maybe yeah, Arab meaning like Arab.
Oh, yeah, okay. We did.
Yeah.
Very strong,
Yeah.
featured, very standout characteristics. Okay.
Ooh, which is something that you can never say in the States, I think.
No, that would get you canceled so fast.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, episode 91 was another guest episode with now I think I can call my friend Byung. Yeah. So Byung was very interesting in that he's also not a Korean American. He grew up in Canada. So
Oh.
he represented what Canada is and what Korean Canadian is. And also he had some experience living in Hong Kong. So he's
Yeah.
very multicultured. And we did also learn that, was it Toronto or Vancouver? Oh, Toronto. Toronto itself is a very multicultural city to begin with. Also, that was very interesting. And he had so much knowledge in languages in general. I think he had way more depth and understanding of Korean language than me, which is very not a common thing.
Yeah.
No, it's just me being Korean. Yeah.
Yeah, I love what Byung brought. I think he is a good bridge and balance even for us. Again, somewhere in the middle. And yeah, I really have to say, in hindsight, these 4 interviews that we kicked off, let's say 2025 with, we nailed it. Yeah, I think all these guests were awesome.
Yeah.
And brought a really different and fresh perspective. And yeah. Makes me want to, I don't think we've done a guest episode since. Yeah, it makes me wish we could more easily schedule and do even more interviews.
Yeah.
It's a lot of overhead.
I love how most of our guests weren't typical Korean Americans. They were all ethnically Korean, but had different backgrounds living in different countries, which I think was very interesting. Yeah, I wish we had more guests like this as well.
Yeah, the one phrase I'll also always remember from this is what, like going to Hong Kong. So
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. Episode 92, The Great Wall of Individualism, featuring Jung. Yeah, so this is kind of, again, you could think of it as part two of our Revisiting Jung mini-series.
Yeah.
It started with episode 89
Yeah.
and talking about social circles and communities. And then, yeah, this was when, Jun, you had this epic realization. Maybe you can summarize for us.
Yeah, because I was thinking about social circles a lot after that previous episode and like why Korea's social interaction is the way that it is. And then one day I had an epiphany of like, because I was thinking about my relationships and how those work. Epiphany saying that there's like this gravitational force towards people in Korea where there's no middle ground. And once you get to know someone, there's always this like force that eventually would want to merge two people into one, right? And so that Korean people tend to think that even when they're going into a relationship of that like that ultimate state of becoming one. And so they want to either be that or totally not be that. So that's why there's this like vacant middle ground of social interactions. And I remember that one day when we were having lunch together and I explained this to you and you thought it was pretty interesting, worth making it into an episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think this really tied together a lot of different things I had been thinking about. And yeah, my summary of the epiphany you had was Jung is collectivism at its individual form in a sense, where it's not at a societal level, but two individuals.
Yeah.
The goal of, let's say, a Jung-based friendship is to blur those lines of individuality and just to become one. And again, my very initial thought on that as a Western perspective is, I would define that relationship, that Jung-based friendship, June, as toxic, which means, giving up your own individuality for the sake of the other person, for the sake of the relationship. In my mind, that's literally toxic behavior. It's a non-goal in any relationship, right? The goal is to retain your sense of individualism and your own personal identity and preferences and all that.
Yeah.
And in a sense, I think this really highlights one of the key differences in, I think, a Korean mindset and a Jung-based relationship compared to how Westerners approach friendships and even, marriage and everything, right? Yeah, parent-child, every relationship. Yeah, I think that's really one of the key differences, I would say. If anyone's just starting out thinking about American culture versus Korean culture, I think this is one of the key concepts you have to understand and internalize.
Yeah.
And yeah, even I think it explains one of those, who was that teacher? There was a famous teacher. It's here.
Teacher. Yeah.
Even from the perspective, I think for Koreans, let's say living in America right now.
Oliver Sam.
Yes, Oliver Sam. That's it. I think it would help prevent a lot of misunderstandings.
Yeah.
And maybe sadness for Koreans living in America.
Yeah.
When they meet someone new, it seems like it's going to go really deep towards this Jung-based relationship. And then it doesn't. I think Koreans misunderstand that. They get hurt, offended, and in a sense don't know how to treat that relationship. And yeah, I do think this is one of the key differences in understanding that. And yeah, just showing that these types of relationships, let's say the Western style relationships that go to a certain place and stop with a clear boundary do exist in Korea, right? In the workplace, that's one place to think about it. In a hobby-based relationship, that's another place to think about it. And really, yeah, it's been key in helping me bounce back, let's say, from the really negative mindset I was having being in Korea, and really helping me understand, like, oh, this is why, let's say, maybe I get the sense, why is that person offended? I don't think I did anything wrong.
Yeah.
But just the fact that we aren't going towards this, place of getting to oneness in our relationship, that in and of itself feels a little bit different. And yeah, Koreans don't know how to deal with that, I think.
Yeah. I also like the way how we concluded that we can learn from each other to the societies. And also, I think Korea right now is very rapidly going into this individualistic society where I think it almost feels like they're exaggerating it, meaning that they don't want to like participate in heshiks and like they don't want to talk about anything personal in the workplace and all that. And it's with that, Korea is drastically becoming a very isolated and somewhat lonely society. And I think having that individualistic boundary, but also knowing those tools to not become that dystopian society is something that Korean people could definitely learn from, and to make this a healthily individualistic society. And therefore, I think we can learn from that Western type of social. I almost said socialism. What? Western type of socialization.
Yeah. I think the key word, Jun, is what you just said: healthy boundaries.
Yeah.
Even between family.
Yeah.
This is getting long. We're almost there though.
Yeah.
Getting to the end.
Episode 93 was when we wanted to talk about roommate culture in Korea.
Yeah.
And this has a lot to do with like what the housing system is and the one room culture in Korea. I think this started from you, right? You wanted to talk about roommates in general.
Oh, okay. Actually, Jun, I think during the previous episode where we were talking about Jung and relationships and setting clear boundaries, I think I brought up the idea of like, how can, you have a roommate then, or is this manifesting in roommates as well? It's like, that's another relationship in America where people might choose to live together, never having even known each other.
Yeah.
Right? Like you're going to move in and we're going to be roommates.
Yeah.
And probably for Koreans, that sounds crazy.
Yeah.
Like you'd only live with someone you want to go towards having a Jung-based relationship with them, right? And in America, it's like, nope, you can draw a clear boundary for roommates and I can live with you and we can just be roommates. That's it, right? And I think that's what made us explore this topic.
Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why it's such a taboo to have roommates of opposite sex in Korea, whereas in America it's pretty common. And I still remember when I was in grad school, seeing like my classmates of like mixed gender, 4 of them living in one house.
It's kind of scandalous, right?
Yeah, it was so fascinating to witness. But then, yeah, that type of like healthy boundary really helps you have those relationships without getting into trouble. Yeah.
Again, I've always had roommates, even when I didn't have to, let's say financially, or for whatever other reason. And I've always chosen to have roommates because I just love the social aspect of it. And also just having like someone to do life with, even with strict boundaries, right?
Yeah.
Moving on, episode 94. Okay, getting to the end of this now. This was our news headlines for February through April of 2025. So, okay, which news headlines did we cover? Let's see. This was the Korean impeachment. And so actually, officially, the president was impeached and there was going to be an emergency election. This was the wildfires in Korea and how foreign workers played a role in, I think, helping Korea, recover and fight the wildfires. This was the very controversial allegations around Kim Soo-yeon, who went from S tier, top of the top male actor to, where they are now.
Yeah.
As well as the viral Ghibli style AI generated images. We also covered Johnny Kim.
Yeah.
Any updates to these, Jun?
Well, definitely we have a new president after the impeachment and the election.
Kim Soo-yeon is still going down. I feel like
there any more news?
I just see headlines like still getting canceled, like
really?
Getting countersued for this and that. Like I feel like, they probably one of the biggest fall from graces I've seen. Yeah.
Anything around Ghibli style AI generated images? Was this a Korean specific thing?
No. So what I wanted to bring something up here, and this is because I'm not living in an American context. The response to the Ghibli trend, in America was completely different. And I would say more woke in the sense that the common pushback was like, oh, like this is a travesty. Like you're just taking and you're taking their image in a sense. It's not favorable for the artists and the original creators. And actually there was a lot of negative sentiment and pushback to using AI to generate these Ghibli style images. And again, living in Korea, not being surrounded by that, I had zero clue. Literally, I had no idea this was the common, let's say, thinking and pushback in America. And I just think, again, it's just another thing where you're not living in the culture. You lose touch with that so quickly.
I don't know.
Was there any of that, by the way, negative sentiment and pushback in Korea? I don't think there was.
I mean, there might have been here and there, but that was definitely not the dominant,
Response, right?
yeah, discourse around this thing. It was more lighthearted. It's like people just wanted to have fun and make them into their Kakao Talk profile image,
Yeah.
which I think was very endearing. Sometimes I feel like
I know what you're going to say. No, say it, because I think I would agree with you.
there's a word in Korean to describe that. It's called 불편충. Like people who tend to be uncomfortable with too many things. Like I'm uncomfortable. Like you know the word 불편, right?
Yeah.
And chung is like the word for bug, which is a derogatory term for calling some certain people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So anyways,
Yeah, they're like looking for a reason to be offended, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it comes from, I mean, I'm pretty sure it comes from people who wants the world to be a more better place. But I also think that a lot of times they just wanted to take the moral high ground by
Yeah.
pointing out that something that is just wrong.
And then piling on.
Yeah.
Yeah. June, I agree with you. I think this was, again, good for me because it's like, okay, independently, how do I think outside of American culture? And then once you're in it, how much do you just kind of conform to that overall psyche and mindset? It's like, oh, it seems to be the right way to think, to be offended by this or to defend the artist and to
Yeah.
push back against this.
Yeah.
But then it gets to the point where it's like, yeah, just like you said, people are doing it to take the moral high ground and then really pile on and kind of condemn people, anyone who thinks differently.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so ignorant. Oh, you're whatever, right? And so, yeah, I think it's good. I hope both in Korea and America, we each have our kind of hive thinking, right? The way of just going with the crowd and being afraid to speak out against it. I just hope everyone can, first and foremost, think for themselves, take their own perspective, but also, of course, listen to others, be open to different ideas and different perspectives, incorporate that into how you think, but don't just like blindly go along with what everyone else is saying. And especially don't get to the point of kind of, me versus you, very isolating, and further like cementing this like groupthink that we have and this growing polarization. Yeah, I just think this was a good case study in that for me.
Yeah. I also think that the highest way of honoring a certain artistic style is mimicry, right? And I think certain zeitgeist in art always evolves around like sometimes trying to mimic what other people are doing, and it becomes a trend and it becomes its own style, right? Like, and this case is slightly different. It's because AI is auto-generating it, but also I think it's like Ghibli becoming a style of how you draw certain things is also, I think, could be viewed as very flattering thing.
The ultimate praise, right?
Yeah.
It's become its own genre
Yeah.
of animation, right?
I wonder what was the author's response to this. I know that he doesn't like AI generated things in general, but I wonder what he thought about this trend of like people mimicking the style. Because there are so many styles of animations, right?
Yeah.
The Pixar style
Yeah.
or whatever. But then they chose to do this Ghibli style.
I mean, especially now that it's gotten so good, right? I think that original quote from him was from 5 years ago.
Yeah.
When it was not so good, right? I have not heard any direct quote from him in response to the most recent trends. Yeah.
I heard that Disney is mad with AI generated things that tend to do like the Disney style.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just over copyright stuff, right?
Yeah.
Makes sense. But that feels more purely capitalistic rather than, let's say,
Yeah.
something creative.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Okay.
Episode 95 was another daily life episode after you had a trip to Busan.
Also, just Korean math.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, June, I think the most meaningful one for me from this was when we got to discuss some of the parenting norms and expectations, specifically around screen time. And yeah, again, it's not And bike riding, actually. I'll give two updates on that. Yeah, I don't see it changing. I think it's just getting worse. And this is, I think, one of the dangers, let's say, of just, I guess, groupthink and very quickly establishing social norms. Now, I think if you don't put a screen in front of your kids in a public restaurant, that's seen as bad, right? Especially if the kid's not behaving or very quiet, right? And I think that's, to me, feels like a very scary place to be. Like, even if my kid demands a screen, we've actually kind of given in a bit because we don't want to stand out. We don't want to cause trouble in the distraction to other people, right? Even in like a loud, kind of crowded, busy food court area, like I don't want my youngest kid causing a scene, right? And so what do I want to say here? Yeah, it's just gotten to a place where I think now it's almost unacceptable, I would say, to have a kid, behaving age appropriately, but behaving badly. Because, they would all just say like, we'll just give them a screen like we all are. And I think that's, it feels like I'm not able to parent my own way in a sense because of this like, I don't know, cultural groupthink.
Yeah. That putting a screen in front of your kid was very interesting to me because, I have very little exposure on the world of parenting in Korea. But I do, from the media, understand that on one hand, the current parenting trend in Korea is that you want to give whatever the kid wants, right?
Yeah.
Giving too much freedom and too much like almost like trying to do everything for the kid because nowadays they only have like
One kid.
one kid. But on the other hand, they're like super, super controlling of the kids in public. And it was really interesting to me to see those both extremes coexist together.
In this, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I have a right to say anything here because I'm not a parent myself, but just to observe as a scene in Korea, it does seem very dystopian, right?
I agree.
To see all the kids having a screen in front of them, almost like trying to like plug them into something.
Yeah.
To make them quiet.
I would agree with you. And now it even stands out to me. I do see it time to time, but it stands out because it's so, what's the right word? It's so uncommon when I see kids in public at a restaurant without a screen.
Yeah.
And I'm saying as young as like 6 months.
Yeah.
Like they're so young, but if I see one without a screen, I'm like, oh, nice. Like, good job. Like, because it's so rare more and more.
Why don't they try to just discipline them as a rule to behave in certain places? And
because that, to be clear, like developmentally, right, these kids in general can't control or be as disciplined as adults until I'd say at least like 4 or 5.
Yeah.
Past that, I think it's much easier. But they can't regulate their emotions no matter how, regulated and systematic and clear parents do, discipline their parents. So
I see.
I just think they're not, society is not open and welcome to kids behaving like kids, right? So I do have to say on an update on the bike riding, Jun, my kid who just learned to ride their bike, her best friend in the apartment community now knows how to ride a two-wheeler because of my kid. Okay, yeah. Final note on this before we move on, Jun. I do think just the math too. It's like the focus in Korea in math on just getting the right answer. That's all they care about. As opposed to in the US, like you always have to show your work to get partial credit. And even if you get the right answer but don't show your work, it's not enough.
Yeah.
I think is reflective too of our societies and cultures. Okay, moving on. Episodes 96 and let's say 97 together. This was our 2-part series on college.
Yeah.
So in 96, we covered, I think, more of the fun, just, nostalgic thinking about our college experiences and college life. And part 2 was more around, I think, the more, academic deep dive into how college is different and how it impacts, I think, life in general. What role does it play in society? So
I love this episode because it was so different the way that we experienced college. And it was also very nostalgic to me, and I think for you as well.
And for our listeners, a lot of the comments mentioned the same thing.
Yeah. I remember one of the comments saying, they said that Jun definitely went to college in
the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think our college experiences, I was shocked by how different they felt.
Yeah.
And in a sense, I thought they'd be actually more similar than they were different. But yeah, they felt very, very different. I think probably the number one difference, well, maybe not number one, but one of the biggest differences is that, yeah, in America, you don't drink in college legally until you're a senior or your last year.
Yeah.
Whereas in Korea, freshman, you're going into this experience and it's so heavily focused on drinking from day one.
Yeah.
I think that's a big difference.
I wonder how it's different right now because I would guess that it became much more individualistic these days.
Oh, in Korea?
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I do appreciate that 선배 후배 relationship thing
Yeah.
that probably doesn't exist in the States.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. Episode 98 was listener grab bag. Okay, so this is when we put it up to our Patreon subscribers and people in our Discord, what topics they wanted us to cover. Because we actually had a few kind of smaller ones that weren't big enough to make up an entire episode. But if we put them all together, I think it created this episode. So this was called Listener Grab Bag, featuring credit cards, board games, climate change, and libraries.
Yeah. It was very interesting. Like the question itself was very interesting to me because I've never thought about credit card and point system in Korea. That might be very different in the US because living in Korea is such a normal thing, right? But if you think about it, it's quite unique in the way that they accumulate points and use it. I think the follow-up question in Discord that I didn't have a chance to respond to is that how do you actually redeem those points?
Yeah.
Most of the time you just use it as cash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's some conversion.
Yeah.
One of the follow-ups to the board game, I'm curious, June, tabletop, like what is it? Tabletop RPGs like Warhammer 4K or whatever, or Dungeons and Dragons
yeah.
and things like that.
Yeah.
Is that big in Korea?
I think that's a very niche market and a hardcore fan thing.
Yeah.
Whenever you go to these like board game clubs, I think ultimately they converge to that level of doing that. But for the mass public, they don't really go into that very strategic RPG thing.
Yeah.
Which takes like 2 or 3 hours
and a lot of space.
Yeah.
I wonder if it comes back to not hanging out in people's homes as much and you needing to go to a cafe.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll say is, in the US, it feels like there's this trend where those things used to be very nerdy, very dorky, and kind of like, maybe socially unacceptable for cool people, quote unquote, to do. But now it's becoming more mainstream. Like it's okay if you do it.
Cool.
Right? Like Post Malone is a famous rapper, but he's into Magic the Gathering or whatever, right? I think in my mind, I want to say like, I think Henry Cavill, one of the Superman guys, is super into Warhammer 4K or whatever, which again was seen as a really nerdy thing. Or even like, Tim Duncan, his famous basketball player, right, is really into like StarCraft and gaming, right? So I think it's becoming more mainstream. I think one difference is in Korea, it was never not okay to be nerdy.
Yeah.
Right. So there's no like coming out party in a sense. It's like, oh, I'm a closet nerd. Like if you're nerdy, you could always be nerdy.
Yeah. I think it's just everyone's nerdy to a certain degree in Korea.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. The other biggest difference was, libraries and just how big of a role they played in my childhood. And I think a lot of people in America in the 90s and 2000s, and how it's very different in Korea. It's a place to study and nothing else.
Okay. This is going to be our last reflection. Episode 99 was another one of our media reviews where we did a review on a movie called The Match or 승부 in Korean.
Yeah.
I think there were certain interesting cultural aspects here, especially around the 족보 and the 항렬.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the way that you call someone back in the days in the 80s and the 90s.
I loved when you said, like, if you think about it, chess is very individualistic. Like each piece has their own moves and everything.
Yeah.
And in my mind, I was like, when you first said that, I was like, no, that's so dumb.
Yeah.
But it's like, compared to Go especially, it's true.
Yeah.
Chess is kind of individualistic. And in Go, all the stones are the same and it's all for the collective good.
Yeah.
And so not only in chess and Go, but also, we talked about Monopoly in the past. or even yutnori,
Yeah.
and how it's so reflective of Korean society and culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just love it. These are the things, these are the little nuggets that I really love from our podcast, is when we make these connections in my mind in unexpected ways. So
Okay.
I think, wait, June, we're not going to do a recap of our recap? Just recurse on forever. You know?
Go on forever.
No. But okay, this will bring us to the end of our 3-part mini series reflecting on our 100 episodes to date. So
Hey, we
yeah,
did it.
We did it, June. Yeah. Very proud of ourselves for not missing a week to date.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I think we should also announce that we will be taking a break for recording for the summer.
Yes.
So
Summer break.
Summer break.
Yeah.
It's just going to be a very busy time, I think, for both of us.
Yes.
And yeah, I think we could both use a little break from recording. But we do hope to still do things and get together this coming summer. So even though we won't be recording and releasing weekly episodes, we do hopefully plan to do some other things. So
Yeah.
stay tuned.
And hopefully by accumulating all the observations and learnings that we intake while we are on break, you might come up with very meaningful, interesting topics after the break.
Yeah, June, before we conclude this episode, before we get to the Patreons, maybe I could monologue for a bit.
Go for it.
I don't know if it came through in this episode, but I'm just in a very contemplative, I think, reflective state. Obviously, the wedding, traveling to Europe for the first time, seeing new things, and also just seeing old friends who I hadn't seen for 20 years. And, you know, hopefully not, but might not see again for another 20 years, right? And it just put me in this very contemplative mood. To be honest, it's not just that. A lot of things have been happening, you know, just beyond just seeing my best friend from childhood getting married, or spending some time in Europe for the first time with college friends and no kids, which again just felt like a throwback. It was like a college Euro trip, right? Except we're all in our 40s now. June, just yesterday, one of my good friends' dad passed away very unexpectedly. And, you know, this coming week, my brother's visiting Korea with his family. First time for them, for his kids to be in Korea ever. And it's their first time in Korea for, I think, 15 years. And they probably won't be visiting again. So, just trying to make that time as special as possible. And, in some ways, families never felt closer, but in other ways, and more ways, if I had to be honest, families never felt further away for me. And, it's also summertime, which in the US, it's a major time of transition because of the way the school calendar works. This is when a lot of people move, change jobs, etc. Two families who were amongst the first friends I made in Korea. Yeah, one of them's moving into a different apartment complex. Another's moving back to the US. We moved in the summer ourselves to Korea. So it'll be 4 years come July in Korea. Yeah, anyway, I'm just in a really reflective mindset. Also, obviously, taking a break from our podcast, which has been a staple in my life for the last 2 years. Also at a macro level, June, I don't know, the world does feel like it's on fire. American democracy's never felt more fragile. I think the future of America, to me, feels very uncertain, right? Which is, I think, weird for me as an American growing up in the 90s when America was in its heyday, let's say. But you probably feel the same way, right? It's weird thinking about a world where America's not let's say, the sole superpower, right? The standard for morals and everything. I don't know if that resonates with you.
Oh, it does. It does. Yeah.
And so, I think also, I'll never know, right? Whether moving to Korea is what triggered this midlife crisis for me. I don't think so. I think I would have gone through it anyway. But maybe not. I think being isolated and having to force myself to be in a different context culturally and, independent of my old friends and community and all that, right? It just really left me alone to face myself in a sense. And I think one conclusion I've come to is it feels like a midlife crisis to me. And maybe this is really personal, right? But it just feels like it's defined by mourning and grieving. Specifically, at that midpoint in your life, right? It's a good time to really think and reflect. Like your life maybe in many ways has not turned out the way you expected. Yeah, for me, I'm just realizing that a lot of the hopes and dreams and ambitions I had growing up, they might never come to pass. And I guess on one hand, that's sad, but I really believe that you have to go through this period in order for, let's say, the next chapter or phase of your life to give it a fair chance of actually being as, let's say, successful or meaningful as it could be. Because I think if you keep holding on to what you thought or what you wanted your life to be, it's not fair for your current situation and also the life you have remaining, right? So I really believe that, like, for new things to be built, the old has to be torn down. And yeah, once you get through this, for me, midlife crisis or mourning period, I do believe that's necessary for the next phase of your life to be, let's say, more meaningful, right? And without the distractions, let's say, of thinking about the past, thinking about what could have been and what might have been, right? You can only look forward. And yeah, even though Korea hasn't been everything I expected, it's still been, a very special time, and one that I know that I'll look back on fondly, and one that I'm really, really grateful for. Okay, I don't think I can get through more. Yeah, really just appreciative of Jun, this podcast, and just everything I've learned and in all the ways I've changed, I think, being in Korea these past 4 years. So it might not have been perfect, but honestly, there's no such thing, and that's life.
I didn't prepare a monologue. And specifically, because it's also because I didn't think this is going to be the end. It's just going to be a pause, I think. So, but if I want to reflect on the past 100 episodes or 2 years of doing this podcast, I think this is one of the things where I feel like if I imagine myself reflecting on my life on my deathbed and thinking of like those things that might have really influenced me deeply in the way that I perceive the world, I think this is definitely going to be one of those things. It really made me understand different cultures better, and enriching the way that I perceive the world. Yeah. I'm not a very emotional person, and you know that. And I really appreciate also you being super transparent and honest in your feelings and sharing that not only with me, but with the audience. And I know that it's not easy to do that, but I think that's what makes us a good match. And yeah, I also want to express a big thanks to all of our audience who really, I felt like we're going through this journey together. And I really do hope that we continue on this journey. We don't know exactly in which format, but yeah, I have high hopes in doing so. So thank you to you, and thank you to all of our audience.
Yeah, thank you to our listeners for sure. One thing for sure I plan to do in this off season, let's say our break, is respond to the backlog of emails.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Well, we have to do Patreon.
Yeah.
I kind of want to re-record now that it's out, but
You want to do it?
no, it's okay. We'll just go with it. Whatever.
Okay.
As always, if you'd like to support our podcast, please share us with a friend or colleague you think might be interested or would benefit from listening. Beyond that, if you want to support us financially, you too can get access to our Discord, where you can connect with other listeners, give us feedback on our latest episode, and propose future episode topics.
Since the last episode, we have 3 new Patreon subscribers. So we're going to start with Juju. Thank you, Juju.
Thank you, Juju.
And we have Woo-young.
Thank you, Young.
Thank you, Woo-young. And finally, we have Bridget.
Thank you, Bridget.
Thank you, Bridget.
Okay.
All right.
That's it for this week.
So, bye.
Bye. Just at a certain age, you start to question whether they'll eventually find the one. But I realize now this may apply to you too. Cut that out. But